Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Phoebe. This week I wanted to just kind of ramble about something that has always kind of annoyed me a little bit, and that is the concept of Fashion Week and runway trends. So there's this idea of the trickle-down effect, which means that new styles or new trends will appear in runway fashion, and that'll trickle down to like the celebrities who can afford those designer pieces, and that kind of style will then trickle down to the normal folk, and fast fashion companies will adopt those new trends and make them accessible for everyone else. So that idea is like widely accepted in the fashion world, that's how it kind of works, is the trickle down effect. And if you're super into fashion, you might find yourself kind of studying Fashion Week and runway and trying to adopt those trends before they trickle down to the rest of your fellow normal people to try to stay ahead of the trends. And that's not really what I have my qualm with. My qualm, that's my new favorite word of the week, is qualm. My qualm is that the trickle down effect from runway and Fashion Week makes sense in theory, but I don't think that's how it actually works. I'm being confusing introducing this topic, but let me just explain. I feel like the trickle down effect doesn't start from runway itself. I feel like it starts from journalists' perception of runway and of Fashion Week. As I'm filming this, Australian Fashion Week is going on at the moment, so that's why this topic is fresh in my mind. At Fashion Week, you have all of these designers who I can assure you don't have the goal of fitting in with all of the other shows. They're trying desperately to make something so different from all the other shows going on to get attention, and therefore, journalists have to kind of grasp at straws to come up with trends and through lines in Fashion Week, because the entire goal of these shows is to stand out and is to not have through lines with the other shows, if that makes sense. The goal of these designers is to not have a similar show to everyone else's. So what results is a plethora of articles about Fashion Week, about runway shows, that all list kind of completely different trends that I feel like are either extremely vague or are a trend that existed before Fashion Week anyway. Call me crazy, but I don't think these big fashion houses actually know anything that we don't. Yes, they know how to design clothes and how to execute their production and how to build a business and how to run a show, but conceptually, I don't think they're all in on something that we're not. I don't think designers are as much of this top of the food chain know-it-all trendsetters that we think they are. One of the common trends in March Fashion Week was bows, which had already been widely popular since well before the start of 2024. One of Balenciaga's recent shows was all about overconsumption and kind of made a statement and questioned why we all feel the need to keep shopping all the time when there is already plenty of textiles and clothes to go around. And to me, this doesn't seem like a groundbreaking idea that Balenciaga had. To me, it seems like they're picking up on Gen Z's current values, already existing values, and appealing to that. They're trying to make this ironic, heroic statement of being like, look, we're this big fashion house, but we don't believe in consumerism. Like, we're with you guys. And I don't really buy it, but even if I did, what are they going to do beyond that show? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're making that statement, yet they're continuing to produce more and more textiles and feed into classism and consumerism in a lot of ways. Anyway, all of that is to say, I kind of feel like the bottom-up effect can be seen even clearer in runway than the trickle-down effect. It's easier for me to see the already existing street-style trends and social climate reflected in runway than it is for me to see runway shows' influence reflected in normal people's fashion later on. I look at runway the same way I look at fine art paintings. I think it's really cool to see what unique ideas designers can come up with and how far they can push boundaries of color and fabric and statements and hidden meanings and stuff like that. But I find it really hard to actually formulate any strong opinions about the looks because they're usually so unrelatable and so unwearable most of the time. And even if some looks are super wearable, they're usually very unattainable to the average middle-class consumer anyway. While yes, I do still believe the trickle-down effect is real, I feel like it takes such a long time for runway influence to trickle all the way down to normal people that by the time it gets to us, all of the takeaways are kind of unrecognizable anyway. Because like I said, designers don't want to be trendy. They want to show something groundbreaking so that it gets attention. And then journalists look at that and scrape what they can together to come up with trends and through lines that they can write about. And because those trends are kind of scraped together and journalists are grasping at straws, pause to find all these similarities and make all these connections. Oftentimes, the trends that they identify are either A, completely unwearable and therefore irrelevant to 99% of the world, B, trends that were already trends before Fashion Week, or C, utterly vague and uninspiring. But nevertheless, hundreds of articles about Fashion Week get written. Smaller brands may or may not use all of that info to inspire and design their next collection. Pieces in that collection may or may not land well with the public. Fast fashion brands will emulate what does land well, but will likely change the design slightly to make it cheaper to make and more wearable and accessible to a mass crowd. And at that point, I feel like the influence from Fashion Week is kind of undetectable after going through all of those layers and filters and changes. So no, I'm not a runway hater. I think it's fun. Like I said, I think it's fun to consume Fashion Week content as if you were at a museum just observing. But similarly to when I'm at a museum looking at paintings, sometimes I find myself asking, am I missing something? When I'm looking at runway content, I find it hard to look at an outfit and be like, I hate that, or oh my God, I love that. They nailed it. I like looking at them because I think it's a cool art form, but I don't really find myself getting inspired by runway because the looks are just so far from the fashion that I wear in real life. Even if I do see a look that I love, I never really think to try to emulate it or recreate it because A, my personal style isn't that adventurous, or B, I don't have any similar pieces in my closet, so it'd be hard to kind of emulate a look without going and buying a bunch of new stuff. So I would have to go and spend money on all of these pieces that aren't that versatile probably. And yes, I could look at runway and get inspired by colors and cuts and textures and just kind of more vaguely styles, but I could get that kind of inspo from everyday fashion anyway. My qualms with Fashion Week and runway don't really come from the designers and the shows themselves. Yes, I do think it's kind of a weird display of class a lot of the time, but I don't really have the energy to care that deeply about it, if I'm honest. I feel like it just is what it is, and I do think there's art to be appreciated in it. But my real problem and confusion comes from all these people claiming to be totally in the know and like right there on the same page with all of these designers when I feel like that's almost impossible. Like, I feel like Fashion Week is all about these Fashion Week goers kind of cosplaying as like people who are in the know. I feel like it's definitely possible to go to Fashion Week or look at runway content and really resonate with one show in particular or a few looks in particular that really inspire you. I'm not saying that it's just all dumb, but I feel like we have all these thousands of people running around Fashion Week just being like, yes, absolutely, I'm right there with you. Like, this is the moment, like kind of pretending that they're in on it with all the designers and they know exactly where they're coming from. And all these journalists pretending to know exactly what these designers are doing and pretending to be right there on the same page with them, writing about exactly what this next season is going to bring, because they don't want to seem like they're merely observing Fashion Week. They want to seem like they're part of it. And I just kind of call bullshit. And this is where I pose my question. Am I missing something? Are my points valid, or does everyone else know something that I don't? This was such a rambly video, but to sum up, my points are: 1, I think because the purpose of Fashion Week is for these shows to always be doing something new and groundbreaking, I think that makes for all of the looks and all of the shows to be so overwhelming that they're underwhelming. Like, everything's been done before, so that no matter what you do, it's like, yeah, I've seen, like, it just doesn't really surprise you anymore. Even if it hasn't been done that exact way before, nothing surprises you because that's the whole point of it, is to try to surprise you. So everyone's trying to do that. So I think it renders it useless in terms of inspiration. I think, like I said, it's really cool to look at, but in terms of like getting fashion inspiration and the actual trickle-down effect, I think we kind of give runway a little bit too much credit in terms of how it translates into everyday normal people fashion. And it just kind of irks me how many people walk around Fashion Week and talk about Fashion Week kind of cosplaying like they know exactly what all of the designers are thinking so that they can appear to be on the leading edge of fashion with all of those designers. I think people don't want to admit admit that they could just be observing and taking influence from things. I think people want to be part of it and want to act like they're already right there with them. Does that make sense? I would love to hear your thoughts about this in the comments. I know I kind of sounded like a hater in this video, but I just wanted to talk about it because it's something that's always kind of, I guess not really annoyed me, but just like confused me, because I love fashion and clothes so much, but I just never seem to be on the same page as everyone when it comes to runway fashion. I don't feel like I'm in the know with it. I don't have strong opinions when I see it, so it makes me question, like, how can I love fashion without really giving a shit about runway? But let me know your thoughts as to whether you either completely agree or completely disagree or have any more points to add. I love to hear other perspectives, so feel free to make your opinion heard, even if it's completely different from mine, and even if you want to call me out for not being in the know. Maybe everyone else really does know something that I don't, but yeah, let me know if this resonates with any of you. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in a few days. Bye.